Hi, my name's Peter Walker, and I have two Insta360 1Xs which have damaged lenses. This one is pretty obvious, the lens is completely gone, completely broken. The other lens is perfectly intact, and with this one it's more subtle, it's just scratched on the end on that. That other lens is perfectly intact. So what we want to do is move this lens to here, and that's what we're doing today. Now I'm going to try and take apart my own camera. This is not the one I bought on eBay, this is the one I bought officially. And this is the one where it has two lenses, one good one on the side where the display is, that's the good lens, and one scratch lens which is on this side here. So the camera has not been opened at all. This is the first time I'm opening it, and let's go. The object is to replace the broken lens with this one which is on the module. It's already been separated. Let's go. So first of all, the first thing I have to do, well, just to prove that it works, I'm going to switch it on, and there it goes, the latest software, camera, it still works, and everything is fine at this moment, and hopefully it'll work when I'm finished. So switching off the camera, shut down, right. First thing to remove obviously is the memory stick. Not always the easiest thing to get rid of the micro SD card. There we go. Micro SD card, I use a SanDisk. Put that to the side. So the next thing to remove is the battery. There we go. Original Insta360 battery. So now that is out. Now we're going to go onto the base. Now there are 4 screws. Now on the other camera I had a lot of trouble removing those. I found that I had not exactly the right screwdriver, so I got a different screwdriver, and with a little hope, I haven't tried this before, this will now unscrew easily. Or I tried it on the other camera, obviously, but not on this one. Yep, it's turning. So, number 1 screw is out. Two. 3. 4. So with that, I can pull that off. Okay, so I'm using pieces of toilet paper to put these things onto it so that each item stays separate, and that I know which screws go to which components. And of course always make sure that the glass of your objective is on something soft, which again I'm using toilet paper, and being very careful because you don't want this going onto the hard wood, and if you like, the last thing you want to do is to damage the lens, a good lens, while repairing the camera here. So anyway, so we got the base plate off this camera. Now we're going to go to the side where the micro USB connector is, and I'm just using a plastic tool to get under there. And I've got to be very careful. I've got to prise it off. Can be a little bit fiddly, but there we go. It's just adhesive. It's just adhesive. And now I can pull this off. Also goes onto that paper, and under there you will find one screw to unscrew, which is right here. You can remove the adhesive a bit to get to the screw. Or is it this side? No, it's here, this side. So it's basically on the upper side of the connector, not the lower side. So I just got to clear off the adhesive to get to the screw. And then so that screw's coming out. So there we go. So that side is screwed. Now the other one, there's one more we have to take out. That's at the top of the camera, where you have all these little holes. What you need is paper clip. You take a paper clip, and you have to push it. Now, if I compare this to the other camera, this is the way I can take it. This is the housing of the first camera. You can see that in the middle here there's a deeper hole, which is where the microphone is, right here. So you don't want to be getting into that. So by comparing to that, basically I would say take the hole at the opposite end to the battery clip, because there it should be fine. And you've got to do is just put this into one of the holes, preferably the last hole. A little bit fiddly because it's these are very small holes. Probably one of the more difficult ones to remove. And of course, at the same time, you always have to make sure nothing happens to the lenses. What I'm going to do, I need a bit more light. There we go, now it's beginning to work. So I'm prising it open, and then you literally have to just pull it off. Here we go. So there you have two silver screws underneath this, and so obviously those two silver screws have to be unscrewed. Same screwdriver. These are longer, bigger screws. and always keep things identifiable, so you can, because you've got to stick this all back together again at the end. So now, basically, there's one more screw, and that's in the battery compartment. So that has to be removed as well. So there we go. Also goes onto the paper. So now we have all the screws out, which are holding the thing together. So now it's just clips. So what you have to do now is you have to gently pull this apart. And I have a plastic tool here, which I use, and so basically you have to pull it apart. To a certain extent, I'm using it in the battery compartment, and fix this tool. You know, you've got to put it apart, or you've got to find a place where it pulls apart the easiest. Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. So now with the plastic tool, you can now go around and separating. It's always good to go around the side which is the opposite to the door, to the battery door. And you've basically just got to go in there with this tool and slowly get rid of the latches. Open the latches. Try not to damage anything. Very gently. Now, of course, with this method, if you do break something, you've got another one to back it up, but it's preferable not to. So now I can just get into this side. And now remember that the side which comes off is the side without the LED display. I'll try not to use too much force. And try not to touch the lens as I just did, but luckily that was the side of the camera which was where the lens was broken anyway, and I just snapped it back together. So it is a bit fiddly. You need a bit of patience for this, because you don't want to damage the camera. So the only side which is really resisting is the side above the don't want to use too much brute force because this is a camera after all. Just making sure to take out those screws because it seems to be giving more resistance than it should be. So let me just compare this with the other one, just so I got a comparison. Where are the clips? So under the scrap, let's pull. Okay, now we got it apart. Okay, so we have it apart. And now you can see the inside of the camera. Now it's this outer lens, which is what I want to replace. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to remove the module, because the other time I did this, so in order to remove the modules, I have to, first of all, prise off the connectors, these two connectors. And then undo these 4 screws. So now this just pops out. So make sure you keep the 4 screws. Shorter silver screws, these are. Although they look about the same size as the ones on the microphone. So there we have the good lens, and there we have the bad lens, which I was having so much trouble. Now I've removed it. You take it to here, you'll see there are 4 screws on that side and 4 screws on that side. So I'm going to take another piece of paper to you always have to make sure you don't lose the little clips and the things which you... So, I tried to separate the lens from the module. Did not work. Did not work. But this will. There are 8 screws, 4 each side. Undo them. So that's that side. Now we're taking the side away from the cables. Now I was actually lucky in this case, because the camera I got had exactly the opposite camera lens broken. To the one on my camera, so that means they should marry up perfectly. So now this just comes apart. No force needed, I don't think it is. The clip has to come off. the plastic clip. So now, once the clip has come off, then they just come apart. Right, so that's my bad lens. That's the bad one. Now, interestingly enough, yeah, they are basically the same. They're just bent the other way around. Anyway, these are the two good lenses I have, and luckily they're both, you know, both opposites. So I've just basically got to reattach everything now. There are little holes which it goes into. Right, okay, so now that, so you have to match up the holes. So now I have a good lens on that side and a good lens on that side. I don't want to stick bad lenses together. Okay, and this is the bad lens from my camera, and this is the bad lens from the other camera. So they're obviously bunk. And now it's a matter of putting it back together again. Now this was the side away from the camera, so I think they're the same. Yep. So that goes there, and let's start by the first screw. So number one is in. So, unfortunate that I couldn't get the lenses apart, but I could tell the lens was just too hard in the container. It wasn't just a matter of just moving the clip. So, 2 more on the upper side. So, sorry this video is getting a bit long, but for people who want to repair their cameras, I think it's important that you get all the details. And I will of course speed up things I'm just screwing in. So now the lower side. I hope I'm doing a Zeitraffer for this. I think I will. Oh dear. So, camera module is now complete. It has been fixed. Okay. So now we have the camera module. Okay. So the trick is to put the 4 screws into the holes before you put the camera in. Because it gets too fiddly once the obviously making sure that the upper side is the one which is where the cables are pointing up. So now, trying to be a little bit clever here, I'm going to put some paper between it so that there's no pressure on the camera lens when I push this in. Scroll forward a little bit. Check it's showing out the other side nicely. So now so good. Now I've got the new camera module inside. Now you have to make sure that these cables are properly lined up. And pushed in. Looks about right. Now, my friend in Brazil warned me to check that before I finally put it together, to actually check that the camera is actually working. So, switching on. No SD card, okay. Well, I presume that's enough. I've got a functional test. The main thing is the connectors are properly connected, and yeah. Now because I have two lids, one is scratched and one is not, I'm always going to take the non-scratched one because I don't think the lid matters, and I'm going to power it up. Now first of all, and this is very important, you have to get the door mechanism into it. And this is where it's going to get fiddly. At least I know how it connects now. So now so you can zoom in on that. Now, with the door on and snapping the case on top of it, obviously being careful not to press on the lenses. Yep, it's working. So, now I'm going to do a function test. In other words, I'm going to put, before I screw it all together again, I'm going to put the battery in with the memory card in. I'm going to put a battery in. Switch on the camera. And connect up. So let's have a look at that. Right, okay. So now you'll see my screen, and we're going to go to Insta360 One X. And obviously I have to connect to the Wi-Fi of the camera. There we go. Connected, no internet index, that's right. So now, with a little bit of luck, there we go. And so now I'm going to just move around. It looks fine to me. It looks fine to me. No, it doesn't. Because look, the white balance is different. Oh, I can definitely tell the difference. That's a pain, isn't it? It's like they're not matched up. That's a pain. You can see the... There is definitely a white balance issue. The existing lens is pointing towards me. Oh, it's different. No, the one between me is definitely different to the one looking... In fact, the one looking away from me, the new lens, is strangely better balanced than the old one. That's a pain. So now I move back. So now I have two well balanced white balanced things. And so, apart from seeing my workshop, which isn't my cellar, of course, you can rather clearly see the difference in colours. Just take my picture. Now, is there anything I can do to calibrate? Okay, done the gyro calibration. No, I don't know. So let's see this works. It's colour rating. Well, I think that's about the best I can do. That's not too bad, that. I'll do it this way. Well, I'm going to leave it for now, and I'm going to do some tests, and I'm going to stick the thing together, finish putting the thing together, and do some more testing. And now we're going to put together the rest of the camera. We've got the battery and the thing. We're going to switch it off again. And put the two screws in at the top. So this concludes our work on rebuilding the camera. I managed to get the lens transferred. Well, the lens with the sensor. I wish I could have done just the lens. It didn't work out. I couldn't get the lens separated from the box. And there is a white balance sync. But anyway, we'll test that more. Thanks for watching.